Hi and welcome to today's episode, which I'm going to try and make some vegan chocolate truffles, which will be great as a little treat for yourself, but also as a last minute gift idea. It's the 23rd of December. For the last 2 weeks, I've been laid up pretty badly with COVID. I mean, not badly in terms of how bad COVID can get, but it hit me hard. Recovery's been slow, and today's the first day I felt like I've had any kind of energy for doing anything other than lying in bed reading. I've been getting itchy feet and really wanting to do some filming and making some nice kind of comfort type food, but I need to be really cautious with my energy because I don't want to start something and then crash and not be able to finish it. I was craving some chocolate the other night and I thought, oh, maybe I could do something with chocolate for the channel that's going to be nice and quick. I've settled on doing some vegan truffles and I was kind of thinking, how will I make that? And remembered the chocolate ganache that I put on top of the sweet potato chocolate tart that I made. I'm going to take that, use that as the basis, and then add some other bits, and hopefully it'll set firm enough to roll into little balls and it'll make a delicious little bite to eat in front of the TV. Or if you suddenly find yourself having to go to a party, something like that, last minute, it'd be a great little present. If you want more vegan sweet treat ideas and also last minute gift ideas, like this video and then subscribe to the channel. If you hit that little bell icon, you'll be alerted as soon as a new video is published each week. I'm going to start by prepping some of the other ingredients just so then everything's kind of ready to go before I start heating things up and that kind of thing, just so I don't come unstuck. I'm going to start with some flaked almonds, 60 grams, maybe half a cup-ish. I'm going to tip these out onto my board just so I can break them down a bit finer. So I'm just kind of pushing the knife through it. I'm ending up with pieces about so big. Feel free to toast these if you want. I've just remembered that I had planned on doing that, but forgot. And now it's too late, but toasting them will bring out the flavour a little bit more. Next thing I'm going to put in are barberries. Now these are a little dried berry and they've got kind of a tangy sour sort of flavour to them. Ideally I'd be using dried cranberries, but I haven't got any in. I'm still testing positive, so I don't really want to go to the shop. Could also use like sour cherries, dried sour cherries, that kind of thing. And then I'm just going to go through these very lightly with the knife as well, just to break them down a bit smaller. If you wanted to try out the barberries, see if you can find like a Middle Eastern shop. I think I got these from the Turkish shop. They're very common in the Middle East. These won't take much chopping at all because they're already fairly small. Could also use things like dried figs, I suppose, or dates. I want something a bit tangy in there, just to cut through the sweetness. The last thing that I need to chop up is some stem ginger. It's the stuff that comes in jars like that. I think I'll kind of slice it into a few. This is going to give a nice kind of spicy warmth. That's about what I want, kind of nicely minced down. In terms of the bits that I'm adding in, you don't need to do them if you don't want. You can just do the chocolate ganache. But I'm adding this in for a bit of extra flavour, kind of festive flavours as well, and a bit of texture, because otherwise it's just a bit bland. On to making the ganache itself. So I've got a carton of coconut cream that I'm going to use. I don't think this is going to work with coconut milk, so it's the cream that you want. What you could do is take a can of coconut milk, put it in the fridge. You probably need two. Put them in the fridge and their fat will separate and it'll sit at the top. So then if you open the bottom of the can, let the liquid out, and then you're just left with the solid, which is what this is. This is different to creamed coconut. Creamed coconut is the flesh that's just been pulverized, so it's like a puree almost. That's not what we want. I'm going to start this warming in a small saucepan. I need 200 mils of it. So that's left me with maybe a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons at the bottom of the carton. So I'll just stick that in the freezer. The chocolate that I'm going to use, I'm using dark chocolate. So I've got one cheapo type. This is like 44% cocoa solids minimum. And then I've got an 85% because that's nice and dark and intense. I've just realized this is a 90 gram bar and I need 200 grams. That's 100 grams. So then I've also got some semi-sweet chocolate chip pieces. So it's like a tablespoon. Normally I'd break these down by hand, but because I'm trying to conserve some energy, I'm going to do them in the food processor. So I'm just going to turn it on and let the blades pulverize it. Because all we're going to do is pour the hot cream over the chocolate and that'll melt it and combine everything together. I'm breaking the bars down a little bit just to make it a bit easier on the food processor. And then this one, what I might actually do is just rub it over the side of the counter. So I'll just turn this on. add the chocolate in. So that's giving us a nice fine bit of chocolate. Then I'm going to add about a tablespoon of the vegan butter. I'm going to do it in little blobs just to make it easier to melt. The last added ingredient is some chopped roasted hazelnuts. I pre-bought these for speed and energy really. The flavour's better if you roast them yourself, but that'll do in a pinch. You want the coconut cream to be quite hot. I did mine on a 5. The stove goes up to 9. So we'll just stir this in. And everything's going to melt together and form a really nice glossy, gooey mixture. If for any reason you find yourself in a position where things aren't melting together, you can always pop it either in the microwave for a few seconds or stick it on top of a pan of boiling water. So I'm going to go in with the hazelnuts, all of the ginger, all of the barberries. Stir this together and then we'll see if we need any of the almonds. It's been a while since I've made the ganache, so I couldn't remember how much, what the volume was like. Yeah, let's add the almonds as well. I'm going to add a ½ teaspoon of instant espresso powder. This just deepens the flavour of chocolate. It's optional though, so if you don't want it or if you're giving it to kids or something like that, feel free to skip that part. So now we just need to cool this down, and I'm hoping, praying this is going to set firm, probably room temperature at this point, so I might pop it in the fridge. You don't want to be putting hot things in the fridge because it raises the internal temperature, which is not good for food. As I'm shaping the truffles, I'm just going to take spoonfuls, roll it into little balls, and then I'm going to roll them in dust, tasty dust. So I'm going to set those up now, and then I've got the little dishes ready to go. You can do things like chop nuts on the outside, you can dunk them in chocolate and it'll form like a crisp shell on the outside, all that kind of thing. I'm just going nice and easy with some dusty bits. Powders, that's what I should say. First one's nice and easy because that's already made up. So this is the spice sugar that I put on the snickerdoodles. I'll stick the link to that in the description. So that's just mixed spices and some sugar. The next one I'm going to do is like a spicy orange. This is a jar of powdered clementine peel. So I ate the clementines, put the peel on the radiator to dry them out, and then just stuck them in the coffee grinder. ½ teaspoon of the clementine powder. Gonna just break that down a touch. ¼ teaspoon of ground ginger. Do a little bit of ground mace. This is the membrane that grows around a nutmeg. It's like 1/8 teaspoon. It's quite a punchy spice. ¼ teaspoon of cinnamon, ground cinnamon. And then I'll start with ½ teaspoon of icing sugar, powdered sugar. I'm going to run this through the sieve because it's very lumpy. And then I'll mix those together, give it a taste. Probably did a bit too much mace. I'm just going to add a bit more of the orange. And really these are just to add a bit of extra flavour on the outside. Third one, I'm going to do like a mocha. So I'll do a teaspoon of the espresso powder and a teaspoon of cocoa powder. Probably don't need this amount, to be fair, of the different topping. The final one, I'm going to do just chocolate. So I'm going to do ½ teaspoon of the cocoa powder. And then I'm going to cut that with some hot chocolate powder, just to sweeten it off a little bit because the cocoa is very intense. So ½ teaspoon of hot chocolate. So I'm just going to leave that in the fridge till it's hopefully set. I'm suddenly having a panic like, oh no, is that going to do what I want it to do? Who knows? But yeah, all we can do is try. So I'll see you back in a bit and we'll start rolling them up. The mixture's been chilling for about 1.5 hours, and as we can see, it's set. Phew. It's now time to see if I can roll this into balls. I'm thinking it's not going to be a problem, it's just whether it's going to stick to my hands. And I can't really wet my hands because that's going to cause problems with the powders. We'll see what we can do. I might just have to keep washing my hands, drying them. Probably washing under cold water as well, just to keep my hands a bit colder. I've set up a baking tray with some baking parchment. So here's the mixture. So I think that's going to be a good consistency for rolling. Let's scoop up about that much, see what that does. And then I'm just gonna compress it and roll it. That's about what we've got. My hands are gonna need several washes, I think, but we'll see. And then I'm just gonna dunk it in the chocolate one. This was the cocoa and hot chocolate. There we go, nicely covered. You can also shape it a little bit more while it's in the powder because it doesn't stick. That's all of the truffles dusted, rolled, and ready to be munched. So we've got the mocha ones, then those were the cocoa powder and hot chocolate. Those were the snickerdoodle, the spiced orange and ginger. And then these ones, I just mixed a little bit of the hot chocolate powder into the mocha mixture, just because I had a little bit left over. So let's try one of these. Grabbed one of the little mocha ones. Let's have a bite. See if I can show you the inside. It's very rich, creamy, feels very kind of luxurious. But then because it's got the barberries in there for that little bit of acidity, it's not too sweet. That's delicious. The ginger gives it a really nice warmth as well. So it's kind of wintry, spicy. In terms of storing the truffles, I'd probably suggest putting them in the fridge, just in case, because especially if your house is warm, they are going to melt. Might even pop a couple in the freezer just to see what they're like straight out of the freezer. Coconut cream does set solid. Chocolate obviously sets solid. Yeah, but it might be interesting. I've got a feeling they're going to go very fudgy, so there'll be a bit of work to get into, but then as it warms up in your mouth. I'm going to put the link to the chocolate salami that I made last year, I think it was. That mixture would work equally well as a truffle. So it had things like pretzels, ginger nut biscuits, fruit, and there was a liqueur of some sort in there, a bit of booze. I'll put the link to the chocolate and chestnut sweet potato tart. That's the ganache I used, the mixture for that. But the inside, the sweet potato mixture, that's going to work really well as a truffle as well. If you wanted to give quite an extravagant looking gift, you could make 3 or 4 different types of truffles, like a little selection box. I think that would look really pretty. You could add some booze into that mixture, a couple tablespoons maybe. You might need to tweak the amount of chocolate because the texture is kind of spot on, whereas if there's more liquid in there, it might not set quite as firm. So maybe up the chocolate by 15-20 grams, so maybe a small handful of extra chocolate. That might compensate for the additional liquid in there. But rum would work really nicely, or you could do Cointreau triple sec if you wanted like an orange flavour to them. Or Frangelico, which is a hazelnut liqueur. The coffee tequila that I made in the dishwasher, that would be delicious. Oh, yum. I'll put the link to the sweet potato fudge in the description for you as well, because one of the types, I dipped that in chocolate, so it had that nice little shell on the outside. So if you want to know how to do that, you'll find that video down there for you. I'm going to say a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon for the last time this year. It's been amazing having your support to get me through these months, especially during the COVID. It's been nice just having a little bit of, friendly support and love. If you want to join up and get access to behind the scenes content, viewers poll, that kind of thing, I'll pop the link to that down in the description for you as well. I'd also love to say a great big thank you to my audience generally on YouTube. I've just received word that I've fully monetized, so I'm a full YouTube partnership program, which means I earn a little bit of income from the ads as well. The thresholds for that are 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time in a 12-month period. So getting here, it's taken a lot of consistent, steady work, and it's been a bit of a grind at times, I won't lie, especially when my health isn't great. But at the same time, I get a lot of fulfillment for doing the videos. Creativity, it kind of taps that part of my brain, and I love sharing knowledge. It's nice to, answer any questions as they come up in the comments. So yeah, great big thank you to you all. All that remains is for me to say a very happy last week of December, whatever your denomination, whatever you're celebrating, whatever your plans are for these last few days heading into January. I hope everything goes really well and treats you kindly. If you'd like lots more vegan recipes coming your way each week, especially if you're going to do Veganuary next year, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and then hit the bell icon. That way you'll get a little alert every time a new video is published. While you're waiting for the next one, check out this.